It is the precipice of our destruction, and it is also the summit of our evolution. The ancient Babylonians and Sumerians wrote of strange beings coming down to the earth. The Mayans, the Israelis, Egyptians, Africans, Asians, Europeans, and peoples on every continent have written stories of strange star-like beings coming down from the sky. The world is as it was 5,000 years ago. This is also our world today. The UFO phenomena is no longer a phenomenon. It is no longer accompanied with disbelief, or even worse, with laughter. The preponderance of evidence is overwhelming, and the age-old question asking, "Do you believe in UFOs?" is now replaced with, "How can you not believe in them?" The evidence is unequivocal, a truth you cannot run from. In a day where there'll be no place to hide. UFOs are here, and they are now. And this time, they are here to answer our greatest question. And every ufologist in the world. We know they are here, and we know they have been here for thousands of years. But the burning question is, why are they here? This question has never been answered before. In 2014, a strange alien message was discovered in nearly every UFO video in the world. A coded alien message interlaced within every frame of home video. A broadcast alien message, and yet it is also a human message. This method of contact requires our patience, our understanding, and most of all, our intelligence. They are speaking to us in the universal language, and the universal language is star constellations. Each video is actually a brilliant conversation between the alien and the human life. And once you are wise enough to make the connection, if we slow down the frames and stop the frames, you can see what they're saying. They are talking to us. They are reaching out to us, and they are welcoming us into the heavens, into the cosmos, and into the places of creation where mankind is not allowed. For those of us who do not understand the universal language, you are in luck, because these beings are not just speaking to us, they are also teaching us. These UFO home videos are clearly our greatest wealth of knowledge, because when we see it, slow it down, and reverse it, these options open the cosmos, and it also opens our minds. Each of these UFO formations are establishing contact. This UFO formation is what looks like a man holding up his hands, but it is actually the star constellation called Cygnus. Notice how the star points are an exact match. This UFO formation, to the uninitiated, is merely a number of UFOs in a circle. Look again. It is in fact a precise match to the constellation Quadrant Radiant Constellation. Today they want to be seen, and they want each and every one of us to know they are here. They are here, and they are with us, and they are here for only one purpose and one purpose only: contact. These three UFOs are arrayed in a long triangle, and they mirror the Triangulum constellation. Its shape and geometry clearly reveals that these two symbols are linked together by design. This square and unusual UFO is actually the constellation Pegasus, the Great Square. However, the most ubiquitous UFO sign ever seen is this. This is the constellation of Orion's belt. And no matter how many UFO videos you have ever seen, this is always the first thing they do, and it is also the first thing they say. These 3 UFO lights represent 3 stars, and this is actually an alien greeting. It is a greeting because nearly everyone on Earth knows what it means and where to find this constellation in space. Extraterrestrial beings are coming to this Earth on a daily basis and in record numbers. They are establishing contact in every part of our world. Nearly 20 years ago, they came to us, and they came to us in a specific time when they knew we would all be looking to the skies. The Hale-Bopp comet was to make an appearance, and on that day, every American was looking. On this day, they knew that if they appeared, there would be many witnesses, and that there would be no doubt to their existence. These UFO beings have knowledge of our ways, our behaviors, and our knowledge. They knew that on this day, if they appeared, there would be so many witnesses that there would be no doubt as to their existence. On March 13th, 1997, Phoenix, Arizona. It will go down in history as one of the most documented sightings ever seen. Thousands, over 10,000 witnesses, and they all said it appeared and appeared on a grand scale. And when it appeared above Earth, it began speaking to mankind. What we saw were lights and disappearing lights. What we didn't see was the communication. There is a deadly conversation taking place in broad daylight, and also under the cover of darkness. This horrifying dialogue is not overheard in secret places, nor is it found hidden among the obscure. This howling of the heavens is seen and heard in every sky throughout our world. The conversation of whether UFOs exist or not is a conversation that the wise will no longer debate, for it is a debate for fools. The evidence is so pervasive and so ubiquitous that it can no longer be seen as a belief. This evidence is definitely overwhelming, and yet the purpose of their visitation is the only thing that is still hidden. A clue is here, and here, and here. These simple UFO patterns serve as a greeting and also a warning to mankind. The first understanding of this formation is actually a greeting that requires one to understand the most well-known constellation in the world, Orion. The second part of this understanding is its connection to the pyramids of Egypt and the pyramids of the Americas. The pyramids of Africa are all linked together with the pyramids of North America. The Egyptians, the Mayans, and the Aztecs are all linked together as one. They were miles apart, and yet they were all one culture and one people. And the reason why is because they all share the same Father. And He is here. This ancient sculpture was found among the ruins of the Mayan civilization, and it represents an alien language. It is also an ancient clue, which means it possesses supreme knowledge. This is the face of our teacher and the face of our Father. And it is also something even more powerful than that. It is also an alien codex. It is a transmission of code, an enigma. It is deliberately left upon this earth and left to us for only one purpose: to warn us of something that is to come. Unbelievably, this alien work is actually religious, as were all building projects of the ancient world. Today we believe that religion means faith or belief. In the ancient world, it meant far more than that, and faith was the least of them. The religions of the ancient world had little to do with faith, and everything to do with knowledge. For in the ancient world, your faith did not make you great. Your wisdom did. A man who understood the purpose of the Great Pyramid was one who was blessed with the God of knowledge and also eternal life. One who could unravel the mystery of the Sphinx was said to be one of supreme knowledge who would also be blessed with power and a crown of God and authority. In the ancient world, the Word of God says, in all you're getting in life, get knowledge, get wisdom, because wisdom is worth more than silver and gold. The Egyptians and the Mayans tell us that time moves in a circle, a repeating circle, a cycle of living and dying on the same world, over and over again. What is old is new again. What is created will be created again, and there is nothing new under the sun. Time is always the most important and restrictive thing in our world, and the losing of time can also mean the losing of life. In every part of our world, every people who came before us were all taught the same thing: the winter and the summer solstice, the longest day of summer and the shortest day of winter. There are monuments and megaliths all over our world commemorating the beginning and ending of these days. Our ancient teachers taught us to celebrate these days, as these are feast days and days of harvest. The winter solstice and the summer solstice are given to us by our alien forefathers. Why? Because time is the most important commodity in the world. And although time and death happeneth to every man and every beast, time has no power in one place: the land of Egypt. Every land in the world in some way mimics the glory of Egypt. And yet they all miss one very important distinction. The great statues and monuments of our nations are made to glorify ourselves, our races, our cultures, and peoples. In Egypt, they never did anything as conceited as this. Nevertheless, in order to see this, one has to have wisdom, because wisdom will show you that each carving and each monument is laden with power and holy knowledge. Unlike us, their work isn't to glorify their race or their image, and instead, their works are made to save us. We look upon the face of this disfigured king and think of it as nothing as an age-old relic from the past. Unfortunately, it is their past where we find our own. Scientists and archaeologists agree that the Sphinx is a man with the body of a lion. And in 10,000 BC, it aligns with the star constellation of Leo. This is true, but also negligent. because there is also something missing, something more important. The constellation Leo isn't just a lion. It is also a serpent. And the defining understanding of every Egyptian pharaoh is the headdress of a cobra or serpent. And a serpent means flight. If we strip down the original constellation of Leo, we find a serpent. A serpent that is also connected to a pyramid. Upon the Giza Plateau, you will see a serpent king, a lion, and behind it, a pyramid. What is so important about this message is that if we listen, we will meet our Maker while still being alive. And when we return, we will live forever. The Sphinx is telling us that its wisdom and its secrets is a knowledge that requires flight and also travel within the stars. Its face and the land in which it is found is our next clue, and uncovering it will unlock nearly all the mysteries of the ancient world. The land is Africa, and the ancient Egyptians were not Arab, they were African. Africans are known for their rich, deep, and dark complexions. Their royal skin is also known to absorb the powerful rays of the sun. In the ancient world, these people were called the children of the sun. This ancient monument and its association with the sky is also associated with the sun and the sun god. This secret of all secrets is the crown of God, and it is given unto man. For this knowledge is so holy that even they in heaven eagerly await the blossoming of our intellect. The Egyptians were master artisans, and they could have created this structure with a single block of stone. And if they had used a single block of stone, it would have eliminated the lines running across its face. Unfortunately for the doubter, the lines are there for a purpose. The lines are there for scale and measurement. The jagged rocks create two dimples on the left side of its face, and to the world it looks to be some sort of damage. It isn't, and instead, it is wisdom. And it is made for a time when mankind will mature, and mature enough to understand its importance. The Sphinx represents the sun, and it is the face of the sun. And when mankind enters into the technological age, the sun will speak to us. And it will speak to us through the Sphinx. And when we hear it, we will know it is time to leave the earth. The ancient holy word says that the sun and moon are set in the heavens to be a sign for the end of man. This is the sun, and this is the Sphinx. Notice the two distinct holes on the left side of the face of the Sphinx. And now, look upon the face of the sun. Look closer. The Sphinx is the sun. It is a sign from the heavens, and it is also a warning for the earth. This peculiar spot on the face of the sun is not a coincidence, and nearly every ancient stone structure around the world is made to represent the sun. Recently, the sun has been developing strange characteristics, strange holes where large chunks of it is completely missing.
They are called coronal holes, and yet these are more than holes. They are massive empty spaces, and yet these are clues showing us that parts of the sun are completely gone. Although our governments will not tell us, these satellite images will show you that there is something strange happening to the sun, and it coincides with the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Something or someone in the sun is sending us a signal, and it is creating geometric shapes that align with pyramidal structures here on Earth. This is another sun monument found in the Americas, and it is the Aztec Pyramid of the Sun. We've seen this structure for hundreds of years. And then look again. Closer. And this is the sun. And this is a perfect match. Something within the sun is creating these coronal cold spots, and they are creating a signal to those of us on Earth who can read their message. The confirmation of this signal is even more powerful in the land of the Mayans. This is the Mayan temple of the sun. Notice the distinct square dimensions at the top. And now, the sun. Even more, this is the Egyptian pyramid. Notice the square hole at the bottom of the pyramid. And near the summer solstice, this is the sun. An opening, a doorway into another world. The reason the summer solstice and the winter solstice was so important to the Anunnaki was because the summer solstice means the stargate is open, and it represents their only chance to get home. It is unbelievable. It is also staggering, and yet it is all true. Our clash of gods begins here, an ancient wisdom that we will only be able to understand when we have increased in knowledge. These are aliens, and they are joined by these two symbols. One is a star, and the other is a gate. A simple star, a simple square, made by a people whom we all believe to be people with simple minds. However, in our current world, this is a symbol of ancient idiocy. And this, on the other hand, is holy. This is cherished. And this is worshipped. We have seen the images of our gods, prophets, and Christ for nearly 2,000 years. And in this worship and wonder which no man has ever known, whether Jewish, Christian, Arab, or Hindu, the religions of the world extol virtue upon the heads of they who are deemed to be holy. Within every picture of our holy men and holy women, there is a halo, a symbol of authority, a symbol of heaven, glory, and a crown of eternal right. It is found on the head of everything that is of heaven, both man and beast. However, there is more that meets the eye, and uncovering this wisdom will completely transform every human being in the world. The origin of the halo is here, circa 300 AD. It is one of the earliest depictions of Jesus ever made. The image of a holy Jesus and his divinity is characterized by the halo around his head. But then, look closer. The halo is bright, and it also has the sign of the cross within it. And although we believe this to mean Christianity, we are all completely wrong. And the saddest knowledge of all is the fact that there never was a halo. In 300 AD, it was not Jesus who held the glory of divinity and God, and instead, it was the cross and the circle behind him. This ancient cross illuminated behind him is a divine cross. This crossed circle in the ancient world means God and the existence of God. This cross does not mean crucifixion, and it is also not a halo. This ancient symbol is not uniquely Christian, and it is instead found in every religion around the world. It literally means God and the existence of God. It is a universal symbol that was here nearly 3,000 years before Jesus' birth. What makes this ancient crossed circle so holy is the fact that this ancient cross came down to our earth from heavenly angels, angels whom we now call Anunnaki. These beings who from the heavens came walked upon our earth 5,000 years ago. And as they walked, they taught mankind everything we needed to know about the heavens and of the place where God dwells. The Anunnaki are found immortalized in artwork and stelas all over the ancient world. Closer inspection will reveal that these images are not made for art. They are made for learning. Everything they held in their hands and on their backs was for learning. And the reason the symbol of the cross was so holy is because when these beings came to us, they each had a cross hanging around their necks. Unfortunately, these crosses were not worn for fashion as they are today. Everything that is worn by these beings is a clue left to us for our edification and our understanding. The Anunnaki were teachers, and everything about them is for learning. A star on the clothing, wings on the back, and also a wristwatch for time. Everything they wore was to perform a function, and each accoutrement was a form of technology. And sadly, the cross was one of them. The cross that is hanging from their necks has rounded edges that indicate that this object is to be attached to something that is circular. And that something circular is here. This is called an Egyptian sun disk. And it is a sun disk because it is the sun, but with a hole in the center. The reason there is a hole in the center of the sun is because this cross is created to fit into the hole of the sun. Gather yourselves and hold your hearts, for what comes next is very unsettling. When the cross is placed upon the sun and it is turned within the sun disk, this rotation allows its user to determine a point of location, a point of direction, and/or a point of destination. It is a device that creates a mapping of the Earth and the cosmos. It also creates travel routes between lands, stars, and planets. Today we find our destinations electronically or through a plain, flat, square map. Nonetheless, the ancients were different and better than us. And they saw Earth and sun travel not as a square map, but instead, they found all destinations through their circular system. These are ancient Sumerian navigation records. And notice a cross at its center, and each varying degree is a destination mark. Their watches are set to operate with our solar system, as each watch is set to 9 positions, and with the use of the sun disk, travel between lands and worlds are calculated. Yes, children of Earth, this means for the last 3,000 years, we have all been worshiping a GPS navigation device. It is hard to accept, and yet it is true. It is time for us to mature, as we can no longer be children anymore, because our very lives depend on it.
Whether a bird, an elephant, a cow, a serpent, or a lamb, animals play a significant part of our religious beliefs. In nearly every part of our world, there is a reverence, a beauty, and a worship for 4-legged beings, and one more than any other, and that is cattle. The cow or the bull is one of the most holiest symbols of God in the world, and it has been deified for thousands of years. All over the world we find writings, paintings, and hieroglyphs of cows and the worship of them. More than half the world honors them and worships them, and at the same time, they have no knowledge as to why. To them, it is a belief, a faith, and yet they believe even without knowing. In the ancient world, the Apis bull was very holy, and even more than it is today. And if we look back 50,000 years, we find it was just as important to prehistoric man as it is to us. Nevertheless, if we do look back, we will know why. And once we know why, none of us will ever be the same. In nearly all of the cave paintings, there are always pictures of a bull or a cow. And what is important about these paintings is the fact that they are always painted on the ceiling, and usually with a cloudy sky or a night sky. The ceiling forces you to look up, and this act in itself is the clue. In order to find the origin of this Apis bull that is holy, one must look to the heavens and to the origins of our world's various faiths. And that is Egypt. The pyramid is created to represent the sun, and yet it is created not in a circle, but instead a square. All over the world, every sun monument is created not as a sphere, but as a square. Whether Mayan, Incan, Aztec, Egyptian, or African, the sun is always a square. And the reason is, in the ancient world, near the summer solstice or the winter solstice, a hole will appear on the sun. And invariably, it will be a square. And when a square appears on the sun, it means the time of man has come. We have matured. And it is also something even more powerful. It is an invitation to the holiest place of all, the place of the Apis bull. Here is the worship of the Apis bull, and here is the square on the sun, and the knowledge of it all is here. Once you enter this square hole in the sun, you will enter a gateway. You will travel through what we call a wormhole. You will begin an interstellar space flight throughout the cosmos that mankind has taken for more than 100,000 years. We will travel through this wormhole, and when we come out, we will be here. When we leave the sun, we will exit here in this area of the constellation of Taurus the Bull. And how we know this is because of this, a square. The gate of the sun and this holy constellation are linked together. To confirm this conception, all one has to do is return to Egypt. If we go to Egypt, we will find a confirmation of this knowledge that is so overpowering to the mind that it will stun you into silence. Although the doubting Thomas will say, this square is only a coincidence. These two subjects have nothing in common. It's pure fantasy. It's imagination. It couldn't possibly be true. It is true. And the confirmation of the truth is here. When the Egyptians worshipped the Apis bull, they also worshipped the sun. And the two were always linked together as an entryway and an exitway into the cosmos. Here is an ancient Apis bull that was worshipped for thousands of years. On the head of this ancient and holy creature is the sun, and with it, the power of the serpent. Notice what appears to be a crack or damage at the top of this Apis bull sun monument. To the common eye, it's just an old piece of artwork, a 3,000-year-old broken statue of the sun, and yet it is the holiest knowledge you will ever see. And now, a satellite view of this same object today. Yes, this is the hole in the sun that they saw 5,000 years ago. A hole exactly like what we see today. Walk away from what you have been taught of Egypt. Walk away from it. There is no proof more powerful than this. A hole in the sun. A view that requires a satellite. Mankind has walked this earth for more than 400 million years. And when we walked, talked, and breathed this beautiful plane of existence, we were all ultimately wiped out. In time, a new earth would begin, and a new life of mankind would again flourish. And in this new time of earth, there were lords, gods, and Christs, and the hearts of the children of men were beautiful and free. However, the dark days of the end would once again return, and the life of all mankind would utterly and perfectly be wiped out. There have been more than 30,000 versions of this earth, all beginning and ending in 5 to 10,000 year increments. Thousands of human civilizations rising, dying, and then rising again, only to die again. An ingenious communication and every new earth and every new human being would see. Today we call this creation a cave painting, and its name is consistently associated with savagery and ancient diminished capacity. We see these cave paintings of horses, cows, hunters, aliens, and strange symbols of all sorts as some kind of fantasy by the prehistoric simpleton. We see it as a caveman fantasy or a slice of life depicting hunting and predation as they knew it. Our view of these cave paintings indicates that their final messages have completely escaped all eyes undetected. Both enemy and friendly. Sadly, this overlooked, precious work of love and loss of life was made to be seen and deciphered by the next human beings who would come to this earth. They were made for us. These cave paintings that are found all over the world range in age from 3,000 years old to more than 40,000 years old. And unfortunately, we are all unaware of the fact that each of these well-detailed cave paintings were created by an artist who was in fear, who was in pain, and who was sobbing and crying uncontrollably while painting this intricate letter of letters. He and she, who painted so beautifully and so intelligently, created a painted work with a paint that would last not for 30 years, but instead with a paint that would last more than 30,000 years. This fact alone completely escapes all of us, and it has since the beginning of time as we know it. Contrary to what we have been taught, these were not cavemen, but instead they were technologically brilliant, and they came from a very sophisticated and highly intelligent society. Their choice of paint and placement clearly suggests that they had a full grasp of art, geometry, astronomy, science, and experience in transmitting discreet and clandestine communications. They were in fact just like us, and as smart as us, and surely even smarter than us. What they reveal with each painting suggests that they were more intelligent than we thought. They have not seen the faces of any of us, and yet they knew that we would come, and they knew that there would be a world after their own. They left these superior works of art in hallowed caves, and with each layer of paint, they prayed that one day we would see them. And more importantly, each of these cave paintings show us how they saw the cosmos, and each painting provides a Rosetta Stone for our understanding. A bull, a horse, a bear, or any painted animal that is found to have specks or dots painted within it means that it is more than just an animal, and it is in fact a star constellation or cluster of stars that is in our Earth's sky or also found somewhere out in space. This decryption method allows us to peer into the minds of the prehistoric human being. Understanding this codex will in no way give you peace, because this cave's knowledge is very, very deep. Upon the walls there are pictures of colored hands and more hands. And they all represent human beings of every race, both male and female. But look closely at these ubiquitous, strange, and peculiar hands. These particular hands are not like the others, and they all have star dots just below their fingers. Dots and specks that indicate that this is a constellation of stars within our cosmos. This handprint is unique, as the dots are surrounding the hands and are all fiery red, which indicates something in our cosmos is near its grasp. A painting humble and true, and its knowledge is staggering, because as we go farther and farther into space, we find a hand, and not just any hand, a very special hand, one surrounded with white clouds and also fiery red stars. It is a hand unlike any hand we've ever seen before, and it is singular in its importance, because we call this stellar pulsar wind nebula the hand of God. It is both stars and clouds, and right within its grasp is a red, fiery hot constellation of stars and gas and clouds. Unbelievably, We have recently discovered this constellation, and it is so far away from Earth that it is impossible for prehistoric man to have ever have seen it. Ever to have seen it without this. This image is only visible to us via the very powerful Hubble telescope. How is this possible? How can this be? This is the singularity of enlightenment, and this is where we begin to accept the impossible, the unbelievable, and ultimately the inevitable. Paleolithic, Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, ape-man, and caveman. And yet 40,000 years ago, they saw the same star constellations we see today. They saw the same star patterns we see, and they named them after the exact same animals that we named them after today. And now they see the hand of God, a sight impossible to see without evolution and a very high technology. More importantly, it is the same sight we see today, and yet 40,000 years ago, this technological race of superhumans were wiped out. The stonework of our dull-witted, unevolved forerunner to our current perfection of evolution reveals not that they were ignorant, but instead, we are. 35,000 years ago, Cro-Magnon man created a crude painting in rock that is seen as a futile attempt at artwork. We now know that these highly intelligent human beings were sending us an encrypted message that we would only understand on the day that we would evolve. Look closer. Closer. This is a view of the world from above. Notice how small man is in each of these cave paintings. In order for man to be seen this way, it must be from a very, very high vantage point. They are showing us the way our land looks from above. And although our intelligence tells us that this is just a painting, look very closely. Notice that all the animals seen seem to have white spots underneath or splashes of white near or around them. When you understand why, you will know it's over. You see these juvenile cave paintings of animals and then quickly dismiss them as the markings of our uninteresting progenitors. But wait, look closely. Although it is as boring as the others, this painting reveals our connection to our distant relative, and it proves what is impossible. This is not a cave painting. Although it is identical to all cave paintings around the world, its revelation is found in understanding why it's exactly like all the others. It's exactly like all the other cave paintings because these are actually satellite images taken from space, and the specks of white are actually the animals themselves. They're found in every single cave painting, and we always wonder why there's splashes of white. The white is actually the animal. The black image, which we believe to be the painting, is merely a shadow created by the sun. It is identical to images painted in caves, and this is how and why they painted such boring images. because they knew one day we would understand. The cave painter was not painting what he saw of his daily life. He was painting several satellite images, and they were painting them all over the world for one reason and one reason only. They were painting them for us. Each painting screams from deep into the cave, and it says, "Listen to us and know that we were here and we were just like you. Please hear us. Please understand." We must understand them, because these satellite images are tomorrow's cave paintings.